Hello, 大家好, I'm Marguerite, and welcome to my little Cantonese corner, where today I'm going to be talking about Mahjong and scoring hands. Now, in the last Mahjong video I did, we talked about high scoring hands and went all the way down to the faan hand. And in that video, I gave you just one example of a faan hand, and it was something like this one. Not exactly, but it's pretty much the same, where you've got all of the same suit, because if you're doing sampan heiwu, usually you want to be stockpiling one suit. You choose one suit and do that. But at the end here, you have, well, I have a pair of Bak, the north wind, and you only have a pair, so it doesn't count for any points. So you'll see here that you have a mix of some of the pong and then some of the runs. So you've got the, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4. You've got 3, 5, 3, 6s, and a 7, 8, 9. And then you've got your pair of north tiles that are no points at all. So this is an example of a sampan hand, and in the last video I explained how if you win early in the game with this one, people aren't going to be happy, because you basically, if you've got this in your hand and you win with this, that's pretty sad, because you could seriously, in the early stages of the game, get rid of these and build to a very beautiful tingasek or a different hand. So that was the one example that I gave, but there is another example of a 3-point hand, a sampan hand, that does not look like this. It looks very different from this, and that would be your deui. And this hand, you'll notice they're all 3 of a kind, but the suits are mixed. So this is one example of a 3-fan hand where you don't have to do one suit. If you start the game and you have a lot of pairs in your hand, and you've got a lot of different suits in your hand, not just one, you could choose to do the deui, and this means that you are just going to be pong a lot, and you're going to be try to make your 3 of a kinds. So here I've got 3 of the circles, 3 bamboos, 3 of the man, the character suit, and 3 circles again, and a pair of 7s. So this is a typical 3-point hand. Now, again, as I explained with the other hand in the other video, you can increase your faan points available to you if you, for example, didn't have 3 of the batong, but instead maybe had 3 baban. So for example, this is perfectly acceptable too, and it's even worth 1 more faan because you've got the baban, and the baban is going to give you 1 extra point. So 3 faan for doing deui, right? And then 1 for this. If you self-draw and you pick the winning tile, zimo, from the wall and win, then you get even an extra 1. So you can go from 3, 4, 5. So don't feel like if you start the game and you've got, just a bunch of this in your hand, all mixed tiles, a couple of pairs, that you are resigned to winning with just a 3-point hand, because there are ways you can kind of, gain a faan here and a faan there, and pretty soon you can put together a pretty nice point scoring hand with this. So those are examples of the 3-point hand. Now let's talk about going even lower. These days, a lot of people do play where you have to have 3 faan to win, but not always. Sometimes you'll meet people who like to play fast and furious, and that would be playing where you don't have to do a suit, or you don't have to do like the deui, and that would be called this. This is an example of a 2-point or a 1-point hand. It really depends on what you decide among the 4 of you before you play the game, and we're going to get to that in just a minute. Things that you need to decide before you play. But first, take a look at this hand here, which is called a pengwu. The pengwu hand is going to be, if you notice, before we had all 3 of a kind. This one you have all runs, like the 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, like that, but they're all different suits. Because, of course, if you had the same suit across the board, you would have a tingasek, and it would be worth a lot more faan. But this right here is going to be worth your lowest point value. And that could be either 1 or 2, but it's not going to be 3, okay? And you'll notice here that we've got 2 of the west as our pair of eyes, our pair to win with. We've got a 1, 2, 3, a 5, 6, 7, 7, 8, 9, and a 7, 8, 9 in the bamboo. And this is an example of all of the runs, I call them, 1, 2, 3, and it is called a pengwu hand, and it typically is worth 2 faan or 1 faan, depending on what you decide. Now, we can go even lower than this, right? You can go to a 0 faan hand, and that is called your gaiwu, right? Gaiwu, and that could be something that I think, like, why would you want to win if you're getting no points for it? So a lot of times people will play where you can't win with a gaiwu hand. And what that means is, for example, here you've got all the runs. Say you're going to mix it now, and you're going to mix it and put 3 of a kind in here. So you've pwned, or maybe you started the game, or you drew 3 8s in your hand. So now you've mixed 3 of a kind with the runs, and they're all different suits. This typically is a hand that you cannot win with. If you're playing Yafan Heiwu would be the minimal hand that you can win with, so you're not going to be able to win with this. Okay, this is typically called a gaiwu, a chicken hand, and it's worth typically no points. Okay, but I guess sometimes people will play Fast and Furious and anything goes, and they could play with this, but this would be an example of something that you don't aspire to when you're playing. You do want to increase the fanso in your hand.
So now let's talk about the 5 scoring decisions you need to make before you play. Number 1, minimum fan.
What is your minimum fan to win the game with? Now, typically that's going to be samfan, and if you do choose to do samfan heiwu, then you pretty much know you're going to be playing with the suits, and the game is going to be probably a little bit slower. It's going to last a bit longer because everyone's going to be trying to build a really high scoring hand using only the suits, or as I mentioned, the deui. But it's going to take a little bit more time to do that. Or you can decide, the 4 of you, that you're going to play like gaiwu hei or even just yafan hei. But that's going to be more of a Fast and Furious game because you are just going to be in a race against the clock to see who can get any kind of hand to go out with. So it's a little bit faster, and if you're a beginner, you might want to stick to the samfan hand first before going and playing the gaiwu hei or the one fan hand to start or to win the game with.
Number 2, maximum fan.
Now the second thing that you need to decide when playing the game is you set your minimum fan, maybe samfan. Now you have to set the upper fan limit. Now usually that's going to be bafan, right? Bafan is going to be your upper limit. But then you have to kind of decide if you're capping it at 8 fan, and that means that your highest scoring hand is going to be worth 8 fan. So for example, your subsamgyu is going to be worth bafan, right? It can't be worth more than that. But then you have to think like, okay, well, theoretically, you can get higher than bafan, because what if you have subsamgyu, but you zimo, you draw the winning tile yourself, and that's worth 1 extra point. That gets you to gaofan, right? 9 fan. And what if you're playing with flowers, and you've got flowers on the side? Well, that will give you more fan. But if you'd like to, for just playing with friends, and maybe you want to cap the money limit at bafan, you can do that. So a lot of times you'll be like, wow, I got this. Like, typically, I think they say the highest you can go is usually 13. I don't know if I've ever known anyone to get that high, and I'm not really sure how you'd cobble that together if your highest scoring hand is worth 8, because that's like 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 is 5 extra fan. So I'm not really sure how that one would work. And if you know, comment below and tell us your experience with playing higher than a bafan hand. But so typically you'll go to 13. So it's just kind of a sense of pride, maybe, that like, yeah, I got to like safan, but it actually, the money that you get for your bafan is capped at that limit. So that is the second thing you have to decide. So now we know the minimum limit of fan, the upper limit of fan, and the third thing that you need to decide is how much is each fan going to be worth in terms of money, because it's not a one-to-one kind of comparison. It's not like samfan is worth $3 typically. There is a great example of a typical Hong Kong Mahjong scoring chart comparing the fan to the amount of money that you'd pay, and that's on actually the Hong Kong Mahjong Scoring Wikipedia page, which I recommend you check out because it's got a lot of the hands there in colored pictures, which is great. And they also have a chart there that I will include here with the different point value, like the fan value compared to the money that you'd pay value. And so that's something else that you have to decide is how much is each worth. Typically, like samfan will be $4, and then you go up from there. again, these are Hong Kong dollars, right? So $4 in Hong Kong dollars is like 50 cents US, because $8 roughly translates into a dollar US. So that's something else that you need to determine between all of you is what's that going to correspond to in dollars.
Number 4, loser pays all, 群穷.
The fourth thing you have to determine is, 1, 2, 3, 4, is are you playing 群穷 or are you not? Now what that means is that you can play where the person that discards the winning tile has to pay everything, like has to pay for the other two players. There's 4 people in Mahjong, one person wins, and then you've got one person that discards the tile and 2 others that didn't discard the tile. So if you're playing 群穷, the person who discards pays it all. How that works is that typically the people that don't will pay the regular faan amount. So san faan, they pay $4, right? And then they pay $4, $4, and the person who threw the losing one would pay double. He'd pay $8. Well, in 群穷, he's got to pay it all. So he pays $8 plus another 8. He has to pay $16 to the winner if you're playing 群穷. And if you're not playing that way, then the person that discards the winning tile simply pays double the faan, the amount of money that corresponds to the faan that the person won with. So again, if it's san faan is $4, he would pay $8, and the other 2 players would pay their share, which would be $4. So the winner would still get $16, but it wouldn't all come from the same person. Now, the reason to play that way is if you're playing with maybe a couple, a husband and wife, or friends, or family members, they can, it just eliminates the possibility that somebody's going to, collude and kind of help each other win, right? Because if he's going to help them win, he's going to have to pay everything anyway. So what's the point in that? So that's kind of the reason why that all came about. So that is the fourth thing that you have to determine is, are you playing 群穷 or not? Oh, and I should mention too that if the person wins by 寂寞, if he self-draws and you're playing 群穷, that just means everybody pays double regardless, right? So that's a little bit different. If you win by yourself, you draw the tile from the wall by yourself, then everybody pays double. So that's kind of negates that whole 群穷 kind of thing, right?
How about flowers? Dam dafa?
Okay, so the fifth thing that you have to decide before you play is, are you playing with flowers? Now, I'm not really sure how much we've talked about flowers in past videos, but the flowers are just included with every Mahjong set. There are 4 of them, and you've got your, where's my number 1 flower? What did I do with it? Oh, here it is. Okay, so you've got a set of the 4 in Arabic numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I think these are called seasons in I don't know, we call them flowers, but I think they might be called the seasons or something like that. The 1, 2, 3, 4 also in Chinese characters. So you've got these to play with, and it seems that recently when I've been playing and talking to different people, it's kind of fallen out of favor to play with the flowers. Maybe they feel they're kind of just extra and kind of not a waste of time, but it does add to the wall, and when you draw one, and it just gives you extra points, as I mentioned, if you do get one. Like I'm sitting in the first seat in the dong wai, and I pick up this one, I would get an extra point if I were to win. And of course, when you pick up a flower, you immediately display it, and then you pick a tile again from the other opposite side of the wall to make up for the flower that you picked. So again, that's something else that you need to decide among the 4 of you before you play. Are you playing with flowers or are you not? And it doesn't really matter either way. It's just kind of like what you prefer. If you want to have that little bit of extra, I don't know, excitement maybe when you draw a flower and it's the one that you want and it gives you an extra fun, it could be a good thing. So, alrighty, well that was basically the rest of the scoring hands and 5 things that you need to decide before you score. In the next video, I'm going to be discussing interviewing, if you will, my mother-in-law on different tips and tricks and explanations and just things that she thinks that you should know before you start to play or while you're playing the game of Mahjong. Thank you so much for joining me. It's so much fun to do these. I love playing Mahjong. I hope you do too. I hope you've been learning a lot from the videos. If you do like the videos, and this one in particular, like the video. If you haven't already, subscribe to my channel and click the notifications. And I will see you here again on my little Cantonese corner. Bye!